Hello and welcome to another video and another Halo Infinite video. But this is different. This isn't me bitching about Halo Infinite. Well, maybe it will be me bitching about Halo Infinite. This is my definitive review of Halo Infinite. So I've sat back and I've gone back and forth in my head. Do I want to make this a split review and review just the campaign and then the multiplayer? Do I want to combine it into one thing? And it's really difficult to make the decision of how to review this game, being how it was released. But I'm going to do my best here. So overall, I'm going to give the game a full review and a full grade at the end. However, I am splitting this into two parts. I'm going to talk about multiplayer, which I'm going to do at the end of the video because you guys have heard me talk about multiplayer before. And for the most part, my opinion on the multiplayer of Halo Infinite has not changed from my other videos. But I want to spend more time talking about Halo Infinite's campaign, because that was the big question. And the biggest question I had going into this game, it's been a 6-year wait. Is Halo Infinite's campaign worth your time? And it's a resounding yes. I think the game is tremendous. It is probably my favorite Halo campaign since 4. Obviously I hated 5. It's well documented on this channel how much I hate Halo 5. But Halo Infinite's campaign is almost a massive love letter to classic Halo. It's so weird because, well, I think the multiplayer component of Halo Infinite is honestly piss poor where it is right now. I'm not even going to mince words. I think it sucks. The campaign was handled with such love and such care for Master Chief and the characters of Halo that it's like a polar opposite. I play that multiplayer and I just get angry and frustrated because it's just not what I want it to be. But I play the campaign and I'm happy. I'm transported back to 2001 when I'm renting an original Xbox from Family Video and I'm playing the original Halo for the first time because I could not justify buying an original Xbox and a GameCube. And it's tremendous how good this campaign is. I can't stress that enough. So I think one of the best things that Halo Infinite does out of the gate, instead of just dropping you on Zeta Halo into the open environment, this game drops you in to 2 linear levels like classic Halo, which is a great stylistic choice for this type of game because it gives fans the chance to play and experience what Halo was before you get to kind of the new stuff and how this game differs. And those 2 levels are fantastic. They really set up the story. Now, one minor gripe I'll say about the story, there's been a lot of reports. Some people really dislike the story. I think the story overall is good, but it's kind of a retread. And minor spoilers, yes, Cortana is in this game as well. Not in the way that you would think. And by the end of the game, they kind of make good on, she was a bad guy, but now she's kind of not a bad guy. And while also opening the door for Chief to go off with his new AI companion in this game known as the Weapon, who's also voiced by Jen Taylor, who voices Cortana and Dr. Halsey. So that's a little weird. She's voicing 3 people, but I will be really happy if we can put a pin in the Cortana stuff at this point and just move forward, because I think they tried to give that character this big bad arc in Halo 5, and then here it was like almost an apology for like, wow, we really messed that up. We need to give her, another ending. And they totally do that here. And it's, if I have any complaint to say about the story is that a newcomer to this franchise or somebody who maybe didn't play Halo 5, they're not going to know what's going on with parts of these things. And also, the enemy faction you're fighting for 95% of this game is the Banished, which is an enemy faction from Halo Wars 2. And while I personally think that's a really cool idea because it gives them a chance to tie that sub-franchise in with some of those characters, for those that have never played Halo Wars 2, they're not going to know who the Banished are. And Halo Infinite doesn't really do much to explain where they came from. They're just a subsect of the Covenant that broke off. I guess that's the easiest way I can say it. After you get through those 2 levels, you get to Zeta Halo. You get to the open world. And I think the reason why I enjoyed Halo's take on an open world or a semi-open world is it's not like a Far Cry where they litter your map with these checklists and stuff to go do. Sure, those things exist in the game, but it's not like 150 things just regurgitated onto the map. You kind of have to seek things out almost in a Breath of the Wild type way, and that's one of the things I really like about Halo Infinite. Even though I've completed the story and I finished most of the side quest stuff, I still have plenty of things to do. And I'm still probably going to be playing the open world part of this game, because when you do finish the game, you still have plenty of stuff to go do in the world. It's one of those where you get a definitive ending, but then you go back to the Zeta Halo and you can finish everything up, which is really cool. It's one of those types of open world games. But could there have been more in the open world? Absolutely. The biggest gripe I have, and this is a big gripe that I have, and I'm going to be honest, it knocks the score I have for this game down a little bit, is the fact that there's no campaign co-op. I've bitched about it a lot on this channel, but that's what Halo means to me. That's what Halo has meant to me for almost 20 years now. 20 years now. I don't even know why I said almost. And the fact that my best friend, who I've played every Halo game with, multiple times, except for Halo 5, because we both think that game's trash, I haven't been able to play this one with him. And I can't until until 343 puts the co-op in there. And that's just not forgivable. Like, for a franchise this big, at least have 2-player co-op. That's all I'm asking for. Every other Halo has had that. Hell, Halo, 3, 4, 5, and Reach all had 4-player co-op. So that part is a real bummer. I really hope that they can get that out sooner than May of 2022, which is what they're saying right now. But I understand where the focus is with this game, and I understand the struggle there. But it's a bummer, and it does drag the experience down just a little bit, because there's times in the game where you have to drive vehicles, and it's like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of me driving a giant tank or a Warthog for some AI-controlled, Marines to jump in? They're not going to do work like your campaign co-op partner could. So that part of the game is a head-scratcher for sure. And especially since there was just a glitch that came out showing that, hey, they tried to get that to work and they couldn't get it to work before the game launched. It's even more baffling that they couldn't do that before the launch. But I digress, and that's kind of the pin I'll put in for the co-op stuff. It does drag the score down a little bit because I do think that's a huge bummer. But for everything else in terms of the campaign, I have to say I am so pleasantly surprised and happy with how good this campaign is, how much I actually enjoyed playing it. It's in terms of games I've played this year, I think it is the game that I wanted to return to the most in terms of a single-player story. Every time I wasn't playing it, I was thinking about going and playing it. So that's pretty cool. And I think 343, honestly, they've kind of turned the ship around in terms of Halo's campaign narrative. So I honestly have to say I'm not disappointed in that part. Another thing I have to shout out with the campaign is the Grapple Hook. Like, such a small thing to add to Halo, but it adds such a depth and dynamic to how you move around in a Halo game. It's fantastic. Like, I can't think of not playing Halo without the Grapple Hook now, honestly. It also adds this level of exploration to the world where, like, now all of a sudden you can be jumping, and going up and scaling big walls and, rock walls and whatnot, caves. And it's awesome. Like, I don't really have anything negative to say about it. I think it's a great addition. The other things that they added for his suit, like the drop wall, the targeting thing, those are all fine, but they pale in comparison to the Grapple Hook. I think that thing's just so fantastic. Anything else that I want to say about the campaign other than I freaking loved it? Honestly, like, the story aspect of it, if I had one complaint about any characters, I'd say the pilot. Now, I'll say the pilot's character is redeemed towards the end of the game, but for those opening hours, he's really, really annoying. All he wants to do is leave. He doesn't want to stay and help and fight. He doesn't get that. He just wants to get home. And he's really a whiner. And his character does have some redemption, especially towards the end of the game. I think the villains are handled much better in this game than I think Halo 4 and Halo 5 especially. And they've also implemented boss fights into Halo Infinite way more than any other Halo game. So boss fights still have health bars. They might have a little bit to them and how to defeat them, which involves you using some of your gear. I think that stuff's pretty good for the most part. My only complaint there would be the final boss has this kind of teleportation to it that is very annoying, especially on a higher difficulty. I beat through the game on Heroic. So, and yeah, what can I say? The other gripe I'll put out there is as of this time, there's no way to replay missions, which is a bummer because there are some collectibles that are in missions you cannot replay once you beat them. So, for example, I was trying to get all the skulls. I had a situation where I went to go get a skull. I did what I had to do to go get it from this room, but then I died, and I didn't realize that when I had died, it checkpointed, and now the door behind me locked. I couldn't go back and do what I needed to do to unlock the area to get the skull. So I missed that skull, and that kind of sucks. 343 has said they're going to address that issue as well. Honestly, I'm just going to wait to do another campaign playthrough when the co-op comes out anyways, so it is what it is. Before we move on to multiplayer, I'm just going to rate Halo Infinite one of the best games I've played in 2021 in terms of the campaign. I love this game from beginning to end. There really wasn't anything that I was like, oh, you know, and I had such a fear like the last 2 years of like, man, they're really can they really screw up Halo a second time around? And it's a resounding no. Like they did everything I wanted them to do. Sure, are there features missing in Halo Infinite that are a bummer at launch? Absolutely. But putting even those aside, I think Halo Infinite is the best shape that Halo's been in terms of its campaign narrative and in terms of a single-player adventure. So for Halo Infinite's campaign, I'm giving it an A-. Honestly, if they had campaign co-op and it worked at launch, I'd probably give this game an A+. But I am giving it an A-. That's my final grade for the campaign. So the reason I'm splitting this review into two sections is simply because Halo's multiplayer is a free-to-play thing. What that means is you don't have to have Game Pass. You don't have to own Halo Infinite. You can play its multiplayer for free, which I'm not going to sit here and say that was a bad decision. I don't think it was. I think for 343 and Microsoft to generate buzz around Halo multiplayer in 2021, free-to-play was the way to go. The problem with that is Halo Infinite is the single-handed worst microtransaction-laden free-to-play console game I have ever seen. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. So, they just released a skin or a armor for your Spartan in multiplayer. The Spartan armors are $20, okay? However, in order for you to even be able to use this $20 armor, you have to have already purchased the Battle Pass, which is $10. So in the reality of that, that makes that armor or character skin $30, which, if you do the math, that's like half the price of a new video game for a skin. Unbelievable. I have no words for such dickery. Like, it's bad. And you know, I could forgive a lot of things about the microtransactions if I thought the game played well. And here's the big divide I have with Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite's campaign feels great to play. The shooting mechanics are fantastic. Every single part of that did not translate to multiplayer. I feel like it's two separate teams that had to have made this game. And Halo Infinite's multiplayer, I've played roughly about 30 matches since their kind of botched launch on November 15th, and then they kept using the excuse of, oh, well, it's a beta, anytime somebody said something negative, but your game's out, your store's up, it's not a beta anymore. And I don't think it plays well. Every aspect of it, the shooting feels off, the mechanics feel off, the platforming feels off. Everything about it feels off. And I know people are going to bitch in the comments and say, well, you can adjust this and that. I've done all those things. Trust me, as a massive Halo fan, I want to like this multiplayer. I wanted this, for me, to be like a second coming of Halo 3. It's not. I have found myself just returning to Splitgate because I think that is such a better Halo multiplayer arena experience than Halo Infinite's multiplayer. And with its terrible predatory microtransactions and just the fact that I don't think it's a good multiplayer mechanically, it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't play right. Multiplayer, that portion of the game, I have to give a D, which I think is the lowest I've ever given a game on this channel. But like, holy shit, I can't imagine how bad that multiplayer is. And the fact that Halo vets like myself can go on Reddit and bitch about it and say, it's not just me. Like, I don't know how many times I've read a different post on Reddit or the Halo subreddit in the last like month about this multiplayer and about like, is it just me or is this multiplayer suck? And then a bunch of Halo vets are like, no, it's bad. And that's the gist of Halo multiplayer. It's bad. I'm going to be honest, when I return in January 2022 here and I do my top, lists of 2021, Halo Infinite multiplayer might be my most disappointing game of 2021, but Halo's campaign is going to be in my top 10 list. Like, it's wild. And that's kind of why I also decided to split these, because I'm like, I can't have one there but the other there, you know what I mean? So, and I honestly really believe these are two separate releases. You have your free-to-play multiplayer they can do whatever they want with for years on end, and you still have your campaign. So there it is. Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite is out. I can't believe I'm saying that. I feel like I've been talking about this game forever, and now it's out. So there you have it. That's my review of Halo Infinite. That is this is my last video of 2021. I will not be returning with video content until closer to the end of January 2022. I'm taking my holiday break. I will return with my Game of the Year 2021 content. My break, I'm going to be catching up on stuff and working on those videos. Honestly, there's some games that I want to get to for my top 10 list that I feel like probably are going to edge their way on there, but I just haven't had time to play them. And yeah, so 2021 for me has been a ridiculous year. I want to thank everybody who's given support to the channel. And, I thank you for going through the ups and the downs of the year. I mean, I started this year with unexpected hernia surgery that sucked like 3.5 months out of the year for me. And then, as you guys see, my girlfriend and I bought a house, and now I live in a house. And then, with me, tragedy struck in August where I lost my eldest cat. And I've switched jobs again. So it's been a ridiculous year, but I'm looking forward to just having some family time and taking a break. So anyways, guys, remember as always to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And until next time.